Robert Collier commissioned a trophy in 1910 to encourage the American aviation community to strive for excellence in aeronautic development. Since that time, the Robert J. Collier Trophy has been presented in honor of the greatest achievements in aeronautics and astronautics in America. The list of award winners has come to represent a veritable timeline of aviation, as many of the awardees mark major events in the history of flight.
Building a spacecraft takes just about everything technical in the encyclopedia. You have to build a little microcosm out there, and everything that it takes to be a functioning human being on the ground, you have to replicate out there. When you decide to do it internationally, then it truly does become a representation of the Earth from which we come. And so we bring all of our problems, requiring all the solutions with us. Whether it's environmental or food or political or financial, we all have to face it. So this becomes a little laboratory, a testing ground where we can do that.
It involves so many different cultures, not just people culture, but space cultures. And they're all very different. And so the biggest challenge is getting everybody to appreciate and understand how these all work together. Technically, we're all very smart people. You know, physics is physics, and we're going to solve problems. But getting everybody to overcome the boundaries of the cultures, both people and space cultures, is a big challenge.
As you look through history, there are many great achievements that you could point to in terms of stretching technology of the time and of the moment. We've got all the wonders of the world that we know of in history, both in ancient history and modern history. I think the ISS is the greatest human endeavor ever in the history of the world in terms of complexity and the challenges that are brought with that complexity.
But today we find history is important to telling us where we've been and where we're going. Very basic exploration things we did to get to the west coast of this country are similar things you have to prepare for in order to travel to Mars. I mean, it's all about logistics and having a vehicle that'll get you there safely and understanding the risk associated with it. That's in our history, and that's something that kids need to pay very close attention to and learn.
The biggest shock, I would say, the biggest impact that I had during my flight is the first time I looked out the window of the orbiter and saw the space station. It was huge. It was huge and shiny and beautiful. Looking at it and knowing that a man-made structure that big is actually up there.
The ISS comes in sort of two flavors. There's the technological achievement of building it at all, and then there's the scientific achievements that will start flowing faster as the laboratories are activated. And so the engineering challenge of bootstrapping up from parts that are not capable of surviving on their own, having to care for them on the launch, having to integrate them in, to activate them, and keep the viable space station running in all stages of development. It's one of the hardest technical things that we've ever tried to do.
To look out the window from the space station, a space shuttle, or any spacecraft and view the Earth is just a magnificent experience to see all of the details of the planet's surface. The planet is vibrant when you look at it. I mean, we are endeavoring in search for life elsewhere. It's very obvious that there's life on Earth. It speaks of a vibrancy of life.
When I talk to folks all over, I mention that none of these parts have been put together on Earth, and I think they all stop and go, wow, that's pretty incredible, because when they get up to space, they all magically fit together, which means the cooperation on the engineering and technical side is really working.
The ISS role now is learning about all those things that we thought we were smart enough to design around, but turns out maybe there was still a thing or two we needed to learn. I think the biggest lessons learned from us are the ones where we find out why things didn't work exactly the way we planned on them working.
Я думаю, что мы вышли на этап.
I think we are at the verge of an era when not only cosmonauts will have access to space, but scientists and amateurs as well.
Где-то любители, где-то непрофессионалов, которые должны пройти подготовку, но возможности доступа.
Space will be open to mankind.
Возможности доступа человека в космос.
During the first part of space station construction, we were able to have a strong science program. Now that we're finished building the space station, we are going to be able to accomplish the dreams, the initial dreams that we had for everything that we can do by having zero gravity, by having a vibration-free environment, by looking at how flames, how materials, how new protein crystals, all these things will grow in space, and we will get so much more science bang for the buck now that we're station complete.
The children all over the planet can see it grow, can read about its progress, and they will come to realize that this is the time when the human species left the planet for good, when we became a spacefaring species.
Looking out into space, you feel like our planet is just one of the very, very many small little pieces that are part of the whole universe. And so you sort of feel like even just part of Earth is just a little citizen of our universe.
The ISS broke the frontier on how to live and work in space over a long period of time, and to sustain that operation from the ground over a long period of time. And I firmly believe that the ISS is, in part anyway, setting the framework and the foundation to be able to do that for future exploration.
This is really the key to the future, to learn how to operate internationally, to make those trades, to make those decisions, to do the best thing, not just for one country, but for the overall good of all the partners that are participating. That will be the real challenge as we move forward to more dynamic and more challenging environments, even beyond space station.
I think that when people look back at this era of space exploration, they'll realize that's the time that people looked back at the planet and said, I'm from that planet and not from that country. As Carl Sagan said, when we get to Mars, Earth will be a pale blue dot, and you won't really care which side of it you came from. And I think people will remember this program as the first time that the world started to think that way.